Hi, everyone. How are you doing? Well, I'm adjusting the camera and everything. So I hope everyone had a wonderful day. Thank you for another fun filled episode of Margaux with Margaux. Yesterday, I unfortunately um, got sick. It wasn't coronavirus, kind of sick, but I got sick and decided to take a day off to rest. So that's where I was. I'm pretty 99% sure I don't have it. I didn't feel I need to take the test. I didn't have any of the symptoms of coronavirus. So, but as a precaution, I just wanted to relax and just take it easy. So, welcome to another thrilling episode. Today is March 25th, which is Wednesday, and I'm happy you've taken a chance to come and see me. Um, I also, if you have a glass of wine, time to get your Margaux out so we can toast. So thank you for joining me. Here we go. That is simply divine. Isn't it something when you drink wine, somehow you just go into another place? But one of my favorite wines is Margaux wine. I wanted to do a show on wines, but we'll get there. We've just been focusing on coronavirus for the last 2.5 months, which came about the same time I debuted the show. And here we go with another thing. So I'm gonna drink one more. So if you have any wine or something great to drink, you just say Happy Wednesday. Mm. You know why I'm so happy? I'm alive. And I do not have coronavirus, and I don't think anyone close to me, my family does. So today is a wonderful, grateful day. I just want to say thank you guys for taking the time to join me again for another fun time. We are going to talk a little bit about the coronavirus. Obviously, the news cycle, there's so much good information out there. Even in one day, there's just a ton and tons of great information that changes rapidly of what's going on with coronavirus and everything that's happening. So, of course, the death rates are going up. Um, they're seeing that the cases in New York are not doubling as it once was. It's still pretty high, so that's changing. There is mention that in New Orleans it's starting to grow a little bit, and I think it's because of Mardi Gras, which is another discussion in itself. But I think the best news that came out yesterday, I wouldn't say the best news, was the president hinting that he wants to get everybody out and about by Easter, which I thought was pretty clever on his part to have. I think it's good to have a goal in life, right? So I think it was really smart of him to have a goal and to say that. It gave me a burst of energy yesterday when I heard the news. I think obviously he doesn't want anyone, more people to die, but yet again, if the economy takes a total dive, which is really what I've been really concerned with more than anything. I had already planned out like several scenarios in my life, and I also planned out the worst scenario, which is our economy did not get back up and running, and I had to make some shifts and changes in what I did and what my financial plans are and how would I handle all of that. So I was actually personally happy a little bit that the thing was going on, but I am still concerned. It is quite contagious, and if we do go back to life as normal, obviously there'll be numerous cases and more people coming down with coronavirus, and obviously more deaths. So that's not an ideal scenario in anyone's mind. I do take it serious. I don't know. Have you been taking it serious? Are you following all the guidelines that the president outlined and what everyone's been telling you? Social distancing, social distancing. I have been to the store where the stores actually mandate that you are apart, which has just been great. And then I've been in some places where they do not. So it's always awkward to sort of move around a little bit to make sure you're social distancing. I also recommend wearing some type of thing on your mouth. Now, obviously, if you don't have an N95 mask, you're thinking, what do I do? I would wear a scarf, a towel. There's some information I provided on my Twitter feed a couple of days ago, which I'll put it up again, and I'll post it in numerous places where you can find where if you use a cotton T-shirt or maybe a sheet is even better protection, and it gave idea of the different materials that had better protection. It's good to put something around. I know it doesn't look good when you go out and you look like you're wrapped up into something, because that's basically how I look now. And I'm always completely covered. I just cannot afford to get sick. It's just one of my fears. It's not a good fear, but it's definitely, when I heard about coronavirus and how it spread and it was a possible pandemic, I immediately started coming up with a game plan because I knew this is something I needed to take seriously. I joked early on, hoping it would just stay in China, but obviously I'm in California. So if you're in California, Washington, New York, Louisiana, those states have sort of what they call hot spots that are going on. So in California, we can no longer go to restaurants, and we're basically on lockdown. But I think it's important to do what you need to do to protect yourself. I think you have to go on the assumption that you have coronavirus, and if you have coronavirus, what would you do? How would you protect yourself? Also, continue to wipe down all surfaces. I wipe down everywhere I go. I don't like going to the store that often, so I have gotten really good at just waiting a few days if I don't really need something. My thinking is the least amount of time I go out of the home, the less chance I'll have it, the less possibility. So those are some of the thoughts that I have about the whole what's going on with the coronavirus. Now, the president outlined this 15 days slow to spread about 10 days ago. So there's still 5 more days. If you want to know what the slow to spread was, it was basically that if you feel ill, stay at home. If your children feel ill, stay at home. And if someone in your family is sick, you all should stay at home for a 14-day quarantine, because that is the amount of time it takes usually for it to spread. So I think it's overall, my opinion is to do that. Now, there has been some progress on the malaria drugs. I'm sure you've read that. It's everywhere in the media that is showing some hope. The issue is getting a hold of the medication in time, because obviously if more and more people get sick, and if you're in a high area, what are you going to do? I was watching, I don't know, do you guys watch Scott Adams has a really wonderful Periscope that he does now twice a day. And he spoke about how it was important to have a really good game plan of how you're going to get the medication, what you should do to talk to your doctor. I recommend all the things that he mentioned. I was way ahead of him. My husband and I were very proactive, and we were way ahead of the bunch, and we already took whatever we needed to make sure that we have the medication on hand in case something happens to us. And I've also had already explained to my family as well. So I was way ahead of what Scott was saying. But if you're a regular person and you haven't thought these things through, I recommend watching Scott Adams on his Periscope. And I think he has it on YouTube as well. He mentioned it, but he talks about how you should speak to your doctor to get the medication ahead of time. Do not wait. Very important. Go to Scott Adams. I think it's on Periscope. You can see it on Twitter as well. It's called Scott Adams Says. You know, Scott Adams, the one who wrote Dilbert. So you can easily Google Scott Adams and you can probably find all his information. But I thought Scott's Periscope pocket was very important to me. It was like a public public. I thought it was information that he needed. He felt he should share it with the public. I feel too, I knew a lot more than what is being told in the media. And it's because my business is in a lot of different areas. So I have exposure to information that probably isn't readily I know isn't readily available to everyone. So I think it's important. So if you are in a situation where you have a lot on your plate, you have a business, you have employees, you have the kids, you have to figure out a plan B. It's important to do so. As much as our federal government is there to assist you and on a state level to assist you, you need to figure out a plan of your own and think very intelligently and strategically of what you're going to do, because they're now stating the payments will take like 2 to 3 weeks. And if you got to get a loan for your small business, you have to wait till next week. There's a lot involved. And when you have a lot of variables, that means there's a lot of uphill, and there could be a lot of problems. So certainly think of a plan B. I know it's difficult. I'm a very positive person, very positive. And I'm A-type, and I love to plan, and I love to strategize. That's kind of what my natural talent is. But in this particular case, I felt it was important for me to plan a worst case scenario. And I don't like to talk about that, because that's something, who wants to talk about the worst case scenario in life, and what will that worst case scenario be? But I do think that if you are a person who can and have the ability and have the strategy and the resources, you need to start thinking, what are my resources? What do I have in front of me? What do I need to do? And start to think out of the box and think of your own family, your own survival, and what you personally can do. I think it's important that you have a plan. I'm going to take another sip of Margaux on that very note. Please, please have a plan. So think about where you're at, what you can do, and what the plan. Also think of the worst case scenario. Hate to say it, but that's how I think. And everything I do, I always think of what's the best case scenario, what's the worst case, and am I prepared? So plan for the best. I'm very positive person. I always think everything's going to turn out extremely well. I'm uplifting. That's my personality, but I still have a plan. That's the model that I think to take. Sorry, I was late coming on tonight. I'm usually here at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, but yesterday I wasn't feeling well. It's a long story of what my symptoms were, but they weren't coronavirus, so thank God for that. So I said I got to come on today no matter what. So I pulled it together and I was able to make it here. So go and watch. I think Scott is really very good. He has some really good information to share. I'm going to go over the symptoms of coronavirus. This is really important. If you have any of these symptoms, I recommend calling 911. Calling your doctor is good, but calling 911 could probably get the attention you need. If you have these symptoms, it's good to wait until it's not too late. Also, you have to get this medication. So if you're having these symptoms, you have to figure out a way to call your doctor, get the medications that are out there. I wouldn't say they're medications per se, but are anti-malaria medications that are out there. And there's some other stuff that are out there too. Start doing your research. Start to know what you need to do. Don't depend on anyone else. If you're reading this and you're looking at me now, learn as much as you can so you're prepared and know how to take care of your family in case someone gets sick. Really important. I have so many plans. I honestly have a plan that if someone were to get sick in my family, I knew how to take care of them at my house. That's how much planning I did, just in case there was no hospital, just in case. That's how heavy the planning is. I don't think you have to go to that extreme, but you need to seriously think of a plan and what you're going to do. So let's go ahead and go over the different symptoms. 1, trouble breathing, persistent pain or pressure in chest, new confusion, inability to arouse, blush lips or face. This lip is not inclusive. Please consult your medical provider for any of the symptoms that are severe or concerning. So this is just a guideline. If you're having any other severe symptoms, maybe related to coronavirus, it's good to go see a doctor, call 911, do what you need to do, and figure that whole thing out. I think that's really, really important. We're also let me read to you one particular case. Now, this gentleman had a spiritual moment. Now, I found this article on Breitbart, which I thought was really good. I'm going to post it again on my Twitter feed or also on Twitter feed or also on LinkedIn as well. But let me go ahead and read it to you. It says a coronavirus survivor told his story the Monday night, explaining how he was diagnosed with the virus, struggling to breathe as he declined in the hospital. His lungs were rapidly filled with fluid. His name was Clay Bentley, so you can find this story online as well. A retired sheriff deputy from Georgia shared the story of his miraculous recovery after a bitter battle with the coronavirus. He believes he contracted the virus after attending a gathering at the Church of Liberty Square in Carsville, Georgia. He rapidly declined, going to urgent care the next day after struggling to breathe. He was ultimately diagnosed with pneumonia and sent home. Okay. However, he went back to the hospital days later after his condition worsened, and then eventually was confirmed he contracted coronavirus. I was in a hospital for about 12 days. I guess it was around the 5th or 6th day. The doctors told me they had tried everything. Wow. Very tough. We ran all these antibiotics through you. We've done all the tests, the doctor said. You're worse today than you were when you came into the hospital. He continued, noting the doctor stressed the importance of getting the fluid out of his lungs. So apparently he had fluid in his lungs. At that point, Bentley has said he heard God tell him, you're getting better. Wow. Wow. What a spiritual moment. You're getting better, God whispered to him. Quote, I'm just going to tell you, I heard the voice of the Lord tell me as he was telling me that, he says, you're getting better. You're getting better. Quote, and about 3 a.m. in the morning, I got to the point where I couldn't even breathe. And I tell you, I felt like a man laying on my chest. And the weight of this man was so heavy, he was taking away my breath, Bentley said. I mean, it was like I couldn't even breathe, he said. And all of a sudden, I felt this. I felt this air blown into my lungs. And now I'm believing that God was there for me. He began to blow air in my lungs, and I took a deep breath. Bentley said the doctor came in the next morning and informed him that he had hardly any fluid left in his lungs and asked him if he was a praying man. Quote, well, here's the end of the story. The doctor came in the next morning and checked me, and he said, you hardly yesterday were worse than I've ever seen, and you're here today, and you don't have any fluid in your lungs at all. And he asked me, he said, I just want to ask you if you're a praying man. And I said, yes, sir, I pray and pray constantly. Quote, and he said, well, I found in my practice, when people pray, their positive energy causes the body to begin to heal itself. And I said, you can believe if you want to, but I'm telling you, God came in my room that night and healed me. I think it was such a beautiful, beautiful story. Because if you're a spiritual person, if you're like myself and you're spiritual, I do believe that God works in mysterious ways and can come to you. So I thought the story was quite hopeful of someone who feels it was literally a miracle that he's here. God bless him, and he's here to tell this miraculous story. It's something positive I felt that I wanted to share with you. I also want to do a prayer for all the people who are diagnosed with coronavirus. Our hearts, my husband, our hearts go out to you. It is one of the toughest things I have never seen anything like this. I don't think any of us have. And I just want to tell you that we're here for you. And then the other thing is obvious people who've passed on, who I feel had their angel wings that were taken far too soon. And they're on the other side, I believe, in heaven, looking out for us. And hopefully we get a cure, we find a vaccination, and we're able to help one another. So that article I thought was really, really inspiring. And he found God. So now, I spoke a little bit about that, which I didn't really want to talk about so much was coronavirus, but here I am. So now you have what the symptoms are, call 911, have a game plan. Also, I believe in God, and I'm a strong believer in spiritual healing, and I rest my case. The story was a support of that. Another interesting thing is I'm going to read to you what this virologist said. Well, basically, I'll just give you a quick summation. He just talked about the importance that you can have a lot of exposure to the virus if you're out, or minimum. And that's why it's better to cover your mouth and nose to minimize exposure. You do know that coronavirus can live on different surfaces. Aluminum, because stay 2 to 8 hours. Surgical gloves, 8 hours. Steel, 48 hours. Wood, 4 days. Glass, 4 days. Paper, 4 to 5 days, and plastic. So it can live on different substances. I'm going to also give you the 3 websites to look for to get some really good information. One is the National Health Institute of Health is www.nih.gov, and of course the www.cdc.gov, and there is one more, Health Organization, which is who.int. Tonight I really want to talk about another subject that is not what I want to talk about, that I haven't had a chance to talk about in some time, is movies. Back in, I think it was February, I went through the top 20 list of my top 20 movies of the decade. And I just feel that's probably something I can go ahead and reintroduce now. I don't feel comfortable really talking about any other subject but coronavirus, because it impacts all of us. And my prayers are that we go back to life normal. We find a vaccine, and I'm one of those positive people. We will prevail. God help us. I do a lot of prayer, and our shiny light is here. We're here, and we're all as one. And meditate. Another positive thing to meditate. Don't watch too much news. It's not healthy for your mind. Be sure to meditate, relax, stay in the moment, take deep breaths, stay away from the news too much, maybe get 1 or 2 hours. I see a lot of news, unfortunately, because my businesses are all involved in so many different things. So I recommend small doses, and I'll try to keep you in contact if you come with me. Now, the other thing I also talked to you about was immune system. Um, since I'm not a doctor and not a nutritionist, I just didn't feel comfortable saying a lot of stuff that I don't know will work or could work. What I may do is I have another person that I read a lot of his books and information, and I'm going to share with you his information. He's a physician, and you can go online and experiment. The first thing is to examine your diet and understand that your body builds its cells and heals itself based on your food you put in your body. So you need to first examine your health status. So if you have underlying health issues, you have to sort of start addressing it by changing your diet, cutting out a lot of sugar, a lot of salt, a lot of products that are on the shelf. Natural foods, the better. Fresh meat, fresh vegetables, fresh fruit. But you yourself have to look at your diet fully. I'm a big believer in alternative ways of doing things. I take bone broth, which is one of my favorite things to use. I also believe in bentonite clay. I don't know if you guys have used bentonite clay. I use it to help pull the metals out of my body by putting it on my feet. I believe it works. I am going to put up some information from someone else who has a little bit more expertise and share their information, and then let you decide what is best for you. Everybody's human body is unique. We all live in different environments. We all have a different genetic makeup, and we all have different underlying conditions. So you have to look at your body, yourself, and examine what it is that you're doing and make corrections. It's like an experiment. You drink some fluids. Maybe you always think, well, beet juice is good because beet juice is really good for you. So try beet juice for 2 or 3 days. If your stomach is okay with it, and you make it. And the way I judge is usually my skin. Your skin is a really indicator of how healthy things are going on in your body. So if your skin is bright, it tells you that it is something healthy that you're doing, but also your energy levels. So it's good to examine how you're looking, how your skin looks, your energy levels, how you feel inside, if you feel good and peace and in the moment. That's a really good indication. So those are some really good guidelines that you can also try as well. I'm going to read to you a list of my top 20 movies of the last decade, and see where we go. So I'm going to read them to you quickly. I'll post them, and then you can, of course, go online and see what you think of them. But these are my top 20 movies. This is Margaux's top 20 movies of the last decade. So here we go. 20, Lincoln. Number 19, Budapest Hotel. 18, Selma. Oh my God, did you guys see Selma? It was about Martin Luther King, directed by Ava DuVernay. Wonderful film. 17, Mad Max Fury. Oh my goodness, wonderful. Charlize Theron was in it. What was the other actor? Oh my God, I can't remember his name. But he was in it too. It was really, really good. Hell and High Water, number 16. Number 15 is Inception. Number 14 is Hunt for the Wilderpeople. Have to see it. 13, Great Gatsby. Oh my God, I love Great Gatsby. Star is Born. Number 12 wasn't Lady Gaga, and wasn't that a great movie? Oh my God, that was great. Number 11, Black Panther. Love superhero movies. Black Panther was great. Number 10, Lost City of Z. Number 9 is Get Out, directed by Jordan Peele, which was great. Curious Case of Benjamin Button, David Finch, wonderful film. Black Klansman, wonderful film. Need to see Black Klansman. 6, Uncut Gems that came out this year by the Safdie brothers was wonderful. 5, Avengers, brilliant, loved it. Epic, the first Avengers, okay? Number 4, Parasite. Number 3, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was my favorite. Number 2 was Irishman. Number 1 was 12 Years a Slave, which, wow, what a film. Those are my top 20 movies. I am going to post them online so you can see them. What a week it's been. A lot of good information. I'll fill more in once the stimulus package is actually finalized. It would be great news to share with everyone, and when everyone's going to get the money, which is always a good thing to share. I just want to thank you guys for joining me. This has not been an easy subject for me to bear on many levels, but please know the symptoms, have a plan B, have an action plan, depend on yourself. And I just want to tell you, thanks for joining me for another wonderful episode of Margaux with Margaux. Please follow the rules. Wash your hands. I wash them safely now. Wipe down everything that you think you touch or other people touch so you can minimize exposure. Minimize exposure. That's the way to think of this whole thing. How can I minimize exposure? How can I be prepared in case I do get sick or a loved one gets sick? What are the plans? What do I need to do? Scott Adams was absolutely wonderful this morning. I recommend watching his Periscope. I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll be here tomorrow, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you for joining me for another good episode of Margaux with Margaux. God bless and take care. Bye-bye.